there's an asterisk attached to what we're about to show you, so we won't spend too long on this one.
Okay. NVIDIA's official Cyberpunk 2077 PC benchmarks show GeForce RTX 3080 and 3090, perfect for 1440p 60 frames a second with ray tracing and DLSS. 4K barely hits 60 frames a second.
So these are their completely useless recommendations. I mean, I guess they're not completely useless, but yes, they are. If we scroll down here, here are some of the early charts showing, let's see here, RTX 3080.
This is for 3840 by 21, so this is 4K.
This is 4K with ultra and ray tracing. With DLSS off, it reaches...
No, on.
Hang on. Yes, but... Okay, there's two numbers on the chart, honey.
There is.
Put us back on the screen. With DLSS off, deep learning supersampling, the RTX 3080 reaches the smooth motion frame rate of 15.5 frames per second.
15.
And if you spend $1,500 on one of those MSI RTX 3090s that got swiped from the China factory, you get the smooth motion frame rate of 22 frames per second, average. Now, if you turn on DLSS, take a look at what the numbers go to. You get 51 and 57.
That's not 60.
No, but I don't want to dwell on this too much because if you actually look at the time of the article, this is pre-launch.
Well, it's pre-patch,
There was a day one patch, and the NVIDIA team released a driver set yesterday.
Correct.
And so I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I just want to emphasize the fact that if your goal is to play new games like this going forward, and you want a budget computer, that's not how it works.
That's not...
The budget world of PC gaming has kind of gone to the side for a bit. It's like what I was saying earlier about how it's been squeezed.
It has.
When we started the Tech Deals Channel in 2016, I did a $300 gaming build. Yep. I did a $250 gaming build. Yep. I did a $400 gaming build. I did used gaming builds.
Yep.
None of that's worth your time today.
Nope.
It made sense then because we've been on 4-core chips for...
Ever.
Not quite a decade, but almost a decade.
Nearly a decade.
Nearly a decade. And so you could buy a 3, 4, 5, or even 6-year-old 4-core chip, and it would still run pretty well. But those days are over.
They are. I was watching Techiest City live stream the other day, and he was talking about the used market, and he's basically saying the used market, there is no used market anymore that worth talking about. So
prices have gone up. Prices of the used stuff has gone up to the point to where you might as well buy new.
Exactly.
And of course, the new market doesn't exist because you can't buy a CPU or GPU to save your life.
Correct.
It's just a crap. Can I borrow the water, please?
Yes. Let me open that for you.
Everything worth buying has kind of been sucked up.
Yep.
This article, actually, I meant to pull this up when I was talking about consoles versus PCs before.
Oh. Cyberpunk 2077 new video compares console version. There is a vast difference between high-end PC experience and everything else. Okay.
If you are going to go to the trouble, of building a gaming PC, and you want to play Cyberpunk, and you want to play Legion, and you want to play all the new stuff coming, do you remember the video I made about how nobody should buy an RTX 3070?
Yes.
Part of that, because I could see this coming from a mile away because I'm more than, a few years into this. I've done this a long, long time. The writing was on the wall. The past 3 years feels very familiar to me. Ever since Ryzen came out, ever since competition came back,
correct.
It's like, oh, we're back. We're back to your computer is crap in 3 years and you're upgrading constantly and the new stuff is actually worth buying. Those days are coming back. It's not quite as extreme as the mid-90s, but It wasn't that long ago that you'd build a computer, and 3 years later, it wouldn't play AAA games anymore. And if the past 10 years is your experience, you hear that and go, what, why?
Yeah.
How many people, how many posts, how many questions have we seen from people who go, I want to build a computer for 5, 7, or 9 years?
A lot. And actually, one of the articles I've got coming out on Tech News Network is Take-Two's CEO talking about the different video games that are coming out in the next 10 years. And it's a very interesting thought process. So I want you guys to watch that and chime in on it. So make sure you click that bell notification. So head over to Tech News Network and throw us a sub over there. I'm curious as to where you all are at with that, because it's exactly what we're talking about.
Somebody in chat just said that an RTX 3070 is the borderline for high-end settings for Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, let's think about this for a minute. The 3070 just bloody launched.
Yep.
Cyberpunk just launched. Mm-hmm. If it's borderline, it's a $500 video card that is marginal on a new game today. You're buying a new video card that's already borderline. Mm-hmm. When I made the video saying none of you should buy an RTX 3070, you should buy a 3080. Now, I made that when I thought there would actually be cards to buy. Assuming that RTX 3070s are actually available to buy at $500, and assuming that RTX 3080s are actually available to buy at $700, which was what we knew at the time. Obviously, the situation is different. The $200 you save is dumb and stupid. The performance leap from a 3070 to a 3080, plus the extra VRAM, plus the VRAM performance and the extra cores, that is the smartest $200 share. If you're going to bother, do it. If you got 500, you've got 700. Boy, did people get upset at that statement. You know what? I'm right, and everybody who hates that statement is wrong. If you don't have the extra $200, you're broke, and you shouldn't be buying a $500 video card. But we won't get into that here. No. But they shouldn't. If that $200 breaks you, you're spending money you don't have. You're already overspending. You stop spending money you don't have. That's why everybody's broke. I need my Papa Deals hat for that.
It's right there.
So if a 3070 is borderline, and I tend to agree with that statement, frankly, I think a 3080 is marginal. I don't like the 10 gigs of VRAM in the 3080. I'm looking forward to the 3080 Ti with 20 gigs of VRAM. I think 20 gigs will actually give you that, 4 or 5 years of breathing room. Obviously, it'll scale down. In 4 or 5 years, a 3080 Ti is going to be a 1080p video card. Yep. It's going to be a 1080p high detail 60 frame per second video card. What? It's going to cost $1,200, man. It can't be a 1080p card. Yes, it can.
Yes, it can.
5 years from now. That's how it works. So there's no budget left in terms of, the word budget implies a specific dollar amount. It doesn't necessarily mean cheap. But take the new RTX 3060 Ti that just launched. Mm-hmm. Supposedly $400, even though most of the cards are over that. But say $400. Okay? Just think about this for a minute. Let's pretend that 3080s are available for $700. That's $300. That's a lot of money. Fine. What do you want to play? I want to play Cyberpunk 2077. Oh, at 1080p? No, man. $400 graphics cards aren't 1080p. Yes, they are. What? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. An RTX 3060 Ti is a 1080p card. Now, will it play most current games at 1440p really well? Yes, it will. If I benchmark Shadow of the Tomb Raider and The Division 2 and Anno 1800 and a variety of other games that are in our benchmark suite at 1440p, it'll run them fine, you'll get good frame rates, and an RTX 3060 Ti will look like a great 1440p card. Those games are all 2 freaking years old. You don't even need that card to do that. A 2060 will play those games. In fact, a 2060 you'll play The Division 2 at 1440p just fine, quite frankly. How well does a 3060 Ti run Watch Dogs Legion at 1440p with a 1% low of 60 frames per second? Because frankly, that's what makes your machine smooth, not the average. You want your 1% low there
to be 60.
because that makes your frames smoothly delivered. At anything less than high detail with ray tracing turned off and DLSS turned on. Well, if you're going to do that, what are you doing it for?
I don't know.
1440p high with RTX with ray tracing off? Yeah, okay. Maybe. For a card that just launched, for $400 in a game that just launched for 1 year. And then it isn't. But you see, history repeats itself. 2 years ago, the RTX 2060 came out, and I said 2 years ago at the launch, I said, man, this is a great 1080p card. And if you go back and look at my old videos.
I do remember that.
Do you remember?
There was a lot of kerfuffle about that.
Oh my God, people were pissed. What are you talking about, man? This is a 1440p card. This isn't 1080p. What's wrong with you? Because I know what I'm talking about and you don't, because I think and look at this stuff all the damn time.
Oh, thank you.
An RTX 2060 is a great 1080p card today. Yes, it played 1440p games at launch for a hot minute until it didn't. Mm-hmm. But serious question. I want to show of hands right now in chat. Yes or no? When you buy a new video card for whatever purpose you buy it for, maybe you're buying a new video card today to play at 1080p, maybe you're buying it to play at 1440p, or maybe you're buying it to play at 4K. Are you buying a video card right now today to play at your resolution for 5 minutes, a few months, for one game, or for the next several years?
Now or later.
I am under the impression, I'd like to see what Chet has to say. I am under the impression.
Straw poll.
Okay.
Straw poll time. Years. Ooh, that's going to be interesting.
All right. You got 4 choices for you guys.
Here we go.
Sorry, I'm stepping on all the yeses and nos.
3 years, 2 years. Cyberpunk makes my 2080 cry.
And it wasn't that long ago that the 2080 was considered, yeah, man, you got a video card.
That was expensive.
You have an RTX 2080.
I do.
And you've got a 34-inch ultra-wide 1440p monitor.
I do.
And you loaded up No Man's Sky.
And my 3600X went, screw you, I ain't doing it. It went.
Lowering the detail and lowering the render resolution fixed it completely.
Correct.
On a 2080.
Correct. It did.
This whole buy a video card for 5 years nonsense just blows my mind. They have to be replaced constantly. Or you're playing older games. Or you're playing esports or casual games, which is fine. Not everybody wants to play the latest, greatest game. Hey, honey?
Yes.
Take a look at the results.
Do you buy a video card for now or the future? Right now, only 5%. The next year, only 6%. The next 2 to 3 years, 64%. Longer, 26%.
So the vast, vast majority is not the next hot minute. And if you're buying a RTX 3060 Ti for $400 for 1440p gaming, that thing isn't going to last you, I mean, you know, it'll work in most games now for a bit. But 2 years from now, it's going to be the same thing we're saying about the 2060. A good 1080p card, a solid 1080p card.
Yeah.
It'll be able to play new games 2 years from now at 1080p. 1440p? Get out of here. Bunch of wise guys. 3080? People are like, how many people have you seen that the comment about the 3080 is a 4K card?
Oh, lots.
Yeah, they're all nuts. It's not.
Well,
It's a 1440p card. It'll do some games today at 4K-ish. It'll
Yes.
play 2-year-old games at 4K.
4K.
But anybody buying a 3080 today expecting the next 2 years of 4K gaming is out of their freaking mind. Do you know what the truth is? If you want to play AAA games at 4K, every time a new card comes out, you're buying a new card.
Yeah, and you've said that a lot of times.
You just, whatever, 3080 Ti, you're buying it. 4080, you're buying it. 4080 Ti, you're buying it. 5080, you're buying it. That's your life. Now, in fairness, if you get good about selling, buying, and you're okay to do that,
Fine.
yeah, you know what? You're renting your cards, basically.
Exactly.
You take what you paid for it. You take what you sell it for. You're renting. And, you know, that's really all any of it is anyway, because in 10 years, this is all $20 on eBay.
Lunch.
Like the GTX 580s that came out 10 years ago.
Do you know where you heard that?
I think somebody told. I came up with it all by myself.
Gives me in a dream.
It did.
Cyberpunk made me rethink everything. Truth hurts. Yes, it does, Jerry.